Welcome back to normal baseball. The NL wildcard race is getting heated. The Astros are trying to hold on to the AL West, and Shohei Ohtani's MVP season is over, as is the Angels' hopes and dreams. Welcome back to normal baseball. I'm Alex Normal Dog. That's Lewis, and we are back after a little absence. School started again, so we apologize, but we did have to get used to our schedules again, so we took a little breather. But we are back, ready for the playoff push for most of these teams. We got 2 weeks left in the regular season, and then we'll be here for the playoffs as well. So we are back for you guys. We thank you guys for sticking with us if you're watching, and make sure you stick with us for the rest of the season and on to the off season and next season, because we got a fun off season to look ahead to. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about today. So make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and share with your friends, or follow the podcast if you're listening on Spotify. Let's get it right into it. Let's do this, Lewis. I'm excited.
Let's do it. Where do you want to go first?
I think the only place to start is the most exciting aspect of baseball right now. This NL wildcard race. This NL wildcard race is nothing short of incredible right now. Obviously,
Amen.
With the playoff expansion starting last year, we knew at some point it was going to be more than a 3-team race in that NL wildcard, and that teams would start to creep in more and more, and we'd see tighter races, and that's exactly what we're getting this year. The Phillies are sitting atop the NL wildcard right now, up 3.5 games, but they're the only team that really has a somewhat secure spot in the playoffs right now, because the Diamondbacks, Cubs, Marlins, Reds, and Giants are all separated by 2 games, 2.5 games. If you take out the Giants, then they're all separated by half a game, which is about as close as you can get and is about as crazy as you can get, especially heading into the last 2 weeks of the season. If we're sitting here in May or June saying this, it's more of like, all right, let's give it a little while, but we got 2 weeks left. It's the final push, and it's very exciting.
This is beyond exciting.
How are you enjoying this NL wildcard race so far?
I must say the race has been absolutely amazing. There are some things that I do want to talk about that I think my opinion might not be thought about right now, but when I do get the opportunity to voice my opinion on how I feel about this NL wildcard race, I think people would agree with me. And all of these teams this year have been amazing. They've been good. Obviously, the Diamondbacks were, I think, the highlight of this wild card fiasco, because at one point we thought that they were going to win the division. We did not think that the wild card was even a thought to them. Of course, the Big Bad Dodgers went on to win their 10th NL West championship in 11 years. Good for them. Expect nothing less out of the boys in blue.
Doyers.
Yeah, Doyers moment. The Marlins have been fabulous, especially after acquiring Luis Arias, who has looked nothing short of one of the best pure hitters in baseball. Obviously, the power numbers aren't there, but hey, you need a single or a double. Luis Arias is your guy. The Cincinnati Reds, the start of the Big Red Machine has been something that I think all of baseball should be watching in shock and awe, because you don't see rebuilds go this smoothly in baseball without purchasing a free agent, like a big name free agent, to speed up the process. And guess what the Cincinnati Reds have done? They've done a rebuild without spending money, like without bringing in a back end veteran, sort of, which is crazy to think about. The Giants, just what do you expect out of them? Everything about it is nothing short of spectacular so far this year.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the Giants too, because you kind of skipped past them a little quickly at the end there. The Giants, we can't even forget, going into the season, they had arguably one of the worst off seasons of all time, not in terms of like not being able to sign any players or just being in a bad spot organizationally, but being this close to signing Aaron Judge, agreeing to a contract with Carlos Correa, and then changing your mind. They just made it work with what they had. And as I say this, the Marlins just lost to the Mets, so they fell half a game back of the wild card. But the Giants have put together a really impressive season. Everyone came into the season, I feel like, overlooking them just because they lost those free agents, and everyone's saying, they didn't get those guys, so they're not going to be good. And they're only 2 games out, and they're going into a 2-game series with the Diamondbacks this week. So
Yeah.
you win 2 games, and you're right up there with all the teams.
I do
It's
think
going to be a fun week.
Yeah, I do think the one thing that gets overlooked about San Francisco and the reason why they are so good, especially this season when no one really expected that out of them, I think it's because of their pitching staff more than anything. Guys like Logan Webb and their entire bullpen, headlined by Camilo Duvall, has been nothing short of exactly what the numbers show of they're spectacular. They really are. They've been one of the most consistent pitching staffs in all of baseball, and of course with the lineup, that's not going to win them. Like that can't win you 100 games in today's baseball game, in today's world of baseball, because of the run environment. But the Giants are doing everything they can on the pitching side. It's more of their offense that I would be worried about going into the postseason if they were to make it.
Yeah, I mean, earlier this season they won what 10 games in a row at one point.
Yeah, they
I feel
rattled
like
them off.
they were rattling them off at one point, so they definitely have the ability to go on one of those types of runs. Like you said, the lineup would be your main weakness of the team, and I can't say I would disagree. Obviously,
You would hope
their
that's
pitching
not
staff,
the weakness.
yeah, well, their pitching staff is definitely better than their offense in terms of how they rank against other teams, because this offense doesn't have any superstar players. I'd argue they were one of the most overlooked offenses, like I said, but I think they have a lot of under the radar players that you can look at. Tyro Estrada, like not many people are looking at him. He's hitting 277 this year, and he missed like a month and a half of the season. He's got 22 steals, 12 homers. He's getting on base, especially in the last couple of weeks. I believe he's been even better than that, batting close to 300. Michael Conforto, there was a lot of questions about him this season. How is he going to play coming back from not playing for 2 years? And, putting up 15 homers and a 750 OPS is a pretty good start. That leaves room for more improvement. Wilmer Flores. Who's watching Wilmer Flores this season? He's got 22 home runs and he's batting 288.
Yeah.
I'd take that on a team any day of the week. So I think the Giants,
Hey,
they
you
have
forgot
the
to mention
potential.
arguably one of the best nicknames in baseball, Late Night Lamont Wade Jr. He has been fabulous no matter where they put him on the infield. He has played some great defense, and his bat has looked very, very good so far. I was looking at his stats earlier today, and man, I guarantee you if he hit the free agent market this offseason, there would be plenty of people clamoring at just the thought of having him in their lineup simply for the fact that he can really do it all.
He can really really do it all. The Giants definitely have a chance to punch their ticket, which leads me to my next point: the NL wildcard race. So talking about the NL wildcard race, obviously you think that in these last 2 weeks, these teams may play each other, and naturally, if the teams play each other, it will get fixed out because one team's winning and one team's losing for sure. That is not the case in this year's NL wildcard. The Diamondbacks and the Giants play this week. They play a 2-game series, just 2-game series. A little weird considering they're in the same division playing a 2-game series. But after this 2-game series with the Diamondbacks and the Giants, no other NL wildcard teams play each other till the end of the season.
Yeah.
Granted, some of the wildcard teams maybe have tougher teams in their way on that path, but there's a very good chance we could be sitting here in 2 weeks at the end of the season saying there are 5 teams tied for the wild card.
Yeah. Which in that case, the new wild card, or the new tiebreaker rules, I should say, kind of stink, but what are you going to do?
I'm not ready to look at the tiebreaker rules because I'm sure a 5-team tie for the last 2 wild card spots is such a headache to look at and think about. So I'm not ready to look at that yet, but this can potentially be extremely chaotic at the end of the season. And you look at a couple of these teams have been hotter than others. Obviously, the Diamondbacks have been decently hot recently. They just swept the Cubs, which was a huge series. Speaking of, the Cubs are on a 5-game losing streak. wrong time, Cubs, if you're trying to make the playoffs. But the Cubs, they got the Pirates and the Rockies coming up, which are two very, very important series because to end the season, they play the Braves and the Brewers, who arguably are better teams than them.
Oh, who plays the Brewers and then the Braves? Who plays?
The Cubs play the Braves and then the Brewers.
Oh my God!
To end out the season. I think they won't get swept in either one of those series. Will they win either one? I'm not 100% sure, but this week and this weekend they play the Pirates and the Rockies. So they need to sweep both those teams. They need to win 6 in a row right now because I think once they play the Braves and the Brewers, everything's kind of up in the air for them. In terms of the other teams, all they can do is win at this point. That's their main concern. Most of the other teams, since they're not playing the teams that are in the NL wild card, if they're playing most of the other NL teams, they don't have anything to play for. They've either clinched the playoffs or they are completely out of playoffs. So unless they're playing an AL team, I don't know if anyone's playing like the Astros, who we'll talk about in a minute, but it's going to be some fun, entertaining baseball because it's going to be the teams that are either already in or definitely out, just trying to soil the other team's wild card hopes. I'm going to be watching these wild card teams for the next 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This leads me to my question: who do you think's making the NL wild card when it's all said and done?
So I can give you 2 answers. I can give you who I want to make those last 2 spots, and I can give you who I think are going to make those last 2 spots.
Give me what your heart thinks, and then give me what your head thinks.
My heart thinks that it's going to be the Marlins and the Reds. My brain thinks it's going to be the Diamondbacks and the Marlins. But if it were up to me, I would say Reds and Marlins.
Okay, Reds. No, I'm less worried about what your heart wants and what your head thinks.
I think the Diamondbacks.
More rational.
Yeah, I think that the Diamondbacks are the most secured out of the other teams because I trust their 1 through 9. I trust their bullpen and I trust their pitching, their starters, more than I trust the Reds or the Marlins or the Cubs, right? Or the Giants, for that matter. I trust them the most to at least stay afloat, stay where they are, settle.
The D-backs you're talking?
Yes, the Diamondbacks. I see them finishing second. The third one, my heart of hearts wants the boys down south, the Miami Marlins, to make it. I think that would be entertaining. I feel like their season has not been anything short of spectacular. And they deserve the wild card berth. But if the Reds sneak in there, I would not be surprised.
I actually have a different answer than you. I'm not going to say what my heart wants. I'm just going to say what I think. I think we are going to see the Cubs and the Marlins sneak into those last 2 wild card spots. The Marlins, simply just because of how good they've been playing recently. They're 6-4 in their last 10, but they just swept the Atlanta Braves, which sweeping the Atlanta Braves, and it's not like they faced Strider, they faced Elder. I'm not sure who they faced on the third game, but
Charlie.
Either way, even then, that's what, their top 3.
Yeah, that feels like it.
They just swept them, and not only did they sweep them, they swept them pretty convincingly.
They outscored them 36-13 through that series, I believe were the numbers. Which, oh my God.
I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, if that's what the actual numbers were, that's really impressive against the best team in baseball.
Oh yeah, up and down.
And then when it comes to the Cubs, they are 2-8 in their last 10. Yes, they have lost 5 in a row. Yes, they just got swept by the Diamondbacks. However, they play the Pirates and the Rockies this week. I mentioned this, They're 9-1 against the Pirates this season. They have to sweep that series. They are playing the Rockies, who aren't a good team. I saw a stat that said the Rockies are actually the first team to ever have a lead, a 4-run lead, 4 or more run lead in the 6th inning of 6 straight games and lose all 6 or something like that. They should sweep the Rockies right now. And then you look at their last 2 series of the year, like I mentioned, against the Brewers and the Braves. They played the Braves one other time this season, and they won the series 2-1. So I still think that they could do it again and take a series from the Braves. They are 5-5 against the Brewers this year, which tells me this could be up in the air. They could take that series from the Brewers too. And, if they do their job, and in their last, how many games is that? 6. In their last 12 games, if they go 10-2, they're in. There's no doubt about it. So
Right, but will they?
The road, I think they can, and I want to say they will because I said Marlins and Cubs. I think that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, I wish
think the road looks the best for them.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. I do think that although these teams don't play each other down the stretch, it feels like they all kind of control their own destiny. It's not a matter of, we need to beat this team, we need to do that because they don't play each other. It's a matter of, hey, just go out there and win the damn baseball game every day. That's all that matters. So it's interesting.
I wouldn't call it controlling their own destiny because it does.
No, it's not because it's interesting that it's like both.
I don't know.
Because they're not directly playing their opponents, but as long as every team keeps winning, what's going to happen then?
All they can do is win.
Yeah, man.
As of right now. Unless you're the Giants. The Giants don't control their own destiny because they're the only team that's not in it right now.
Yeah, they're the only team that's on top.
I guess, and the Marlins now because they just lost tonight, but you know what I mean. Every team currently is in it, so all they can do is keep winning.
Yeah.
That's all they can do to help.
So
I'm very excited.
So my only thing is that you say the Cubs are going to get in, which I can understand that there is definitely a path for them to sneak in and make that third or second wild card spot. However, the reason why at least I said I don't want the Cubs to make it is not because I hate the Cubs or anything.
About want.
No, but I'm going to talk about want. The reason why I don't want them to make it is because it feels like we're entering this stage of baseball where it's dynasties. The Dodgers have been a dynasty. The Braves are definitely a regular season dynasty. The Phillies are looking like they're going to be really interesting. And this is just in the National League. The Cubs, after the season, we don't know what their team's going to look like. And I want to see a team that I know has the fighting chance to be there time and time again.
I'm all in for the Cubs, proving that they can win. And if they do win in the playoffs, they'll re-sign Bellinger. And I think Bellinger will want to re-sign. I think they'll re-sign the guys that they have if they start winning, or dare I say, even sign more guys. The Cubs have, at the beginning of the season, I said, Cubs don't make the playoffs. It is what it is. Now I'm saying I want to see the Cubs in the playoffs just because of how fun their team has been. And they've pulled me in. And I like Javier Assad came out of nowhere.
You've fallen for the bait.
He's been pitching all year, Javier Assad. Well, not all year, but he just started starting games, and he's been electric. Justin Steele up until like last week was a top Cy Young contender. Probably would have won the Cy Young if he didn't have 2 bad starts back to back, or would have at least been a close second. They've just pulled me in. Marcus Stroman is starting to come back. He could,
he could make a difference.
He could by the time the playoffs roll around. He's just ramping back up. I know he pitched, I think, 2 innings against the Diamondbacks in his return. They brought me in fully this season. I'm all in for the Cubs.
Okay.
But Cubs Marlins, who I'm going with, and I'm just excited to see how it plays out. I think we should move on from the NL wild card. Any last final thoughts, or you just want to move on?
My final thoughts are whatever teams end up in this NL wild card, don't sleep on them. No matter who makes it, it's going to be interesting. I think every team this year in the postseason has the chance to do what the Phillies did. And the Phillies proved it last season, being the last wild card team and then taking the Astros to 6 games. I think we're going to witness something like that again this year because all of these wildcard teams in both divisions, honestly, or leagues, I should say, in the American League and National League. But right now, the National League, you have to realize that these teams are built to win, and they look good. So it'll be interesting down the stretch.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I want to move on to another race, but not a wild card race. I want to move on to a division race that's getting very entertaining and fun coming down the stretch. And that is the Astros Rangers and Mariners fighting it out for the AL West crown.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a fun stretch and end to the season to see how this plays out. Right now, the Astros are a game and a half up on the Rangers and 2.5 games up on the Mariners. However,
they're losing right now 3-1. The Astros are losing right now 3-1.
The Astros are losing right now. The Rangers are currently tied with the Red Sox. Obviously, by the time we finish this podcast, that game will not be over. So we won't. The Rangers just took the lead, as I said that.
Look at that.
So the Rangers are leading the Red Sox right now. If that stands, then the Rangers will be half a game out. The Mariners haven't started yet, but the Mariners play the Athletics this week. The Astros play the Orioles, who have been the best team in the American League. And then looking into the weekend, the Astros play the Royals. They'll probably get a couple wins out of that. Then the Astros play the Mariners in the second to last series of the season, which is going to be probably the biggest series of the year for both of those teams, without a doubt. And to finish out the season for the Astros, they play the Diamondbacks. And like we were just talking about, any of those NL wildcard teams can compete with any other team in baseball. So it's not just going to be an easy road for the Astros, aside from that Royals series that we'll see. And I think this is the chance for the Rangers and the Mariners to capitalize. And the Rangers and the Mariners do play each other before the season ends as well. So
yeah, for sure.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. What do you think about the AL West race? Are you ready? Do you think the Astros are just going to continue their reign of dominance and seal it away?
So, in all honesty, I think we're going to see the Astros win it. However, I want my thought to be wrong, because nothing is more entertaining to me, especially after experiencing it firsthand, than baseball in Seattle. And if Seattle is able to sneak in and get the number 2 seed, because the AL Central is an absolute joke, and whatever team I believe doesn't get that the division is going to get the 3rd wild card, because the Blue Jays and the Rays are both up there as well. It's pathetic to me, but that's besides the point. I think that in my heart of hearts,
Blue Jays aren't guaranteed.
I think that both the Blue Jays and the Rays are set in almost set in stone. I think that they're not going to move. I think both teams make it. That 3rd wild card spot, whoever makes it in there, they're going to play with some extra chip on their shoulder, because you get beat out for the division by, if you're the Rangers, you get beat out by the Mariners or the Astros when it felt like you had control all year. If you're Seattle and you get that wild card spot, you lose to Houston. But honestly, over the course of the season, who has been the better team? If you needed a team to win one ball game, I would have taken the Mariners, especially in the first half, or when Julio was just going off and being the player of the month.
I wouldn't have taken the Mariners in the first half. I would have taken the Rangers in the first half.
Between Houston and the Mariners.
Either way, I would have taken the Astros in the first half. The Mariners only really picked it up in the second half. That month of August was like the only reason they're even in the race right now. Not to mention they've kind of been really bad recently. But I think, if you're any one of these teams and you're saying, even if we don't win the division, I think we might see 3 AL West teams in the wild card this season.
I don't know. It depends on what the Blue Jays do.
But listen, the Blue Jays' remaining schedule, they have 4 series left. 2 of them are against the Yankees, and 2 of them are against the Rays. And obviously, the Rays have been a very good team this season. They've clinched the playoffs. They're going to be in the wild card. Maybe they might win the division still. And the Yankees, yes, they're out of the playoffs. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they haven't really been a pushover team in the last month, I want to say. They've been playing a lot better recently. I don't think that's just going to be we're going to take that series, we're going to win. So I think there's a route where the Blue Jays just have a really bad end to this season, and both of those AL West teams sneak in.
That would be.
I think the Rangers and the Astros, to me, are both confirmed playoff teams. Although, yeah, I think they're both confirmed playoff teams. So It's more of a matter of, can the Mariners hang around and kind of go on one of those crazy hot runs again. That's really what they're banking on. But I think
Yeah.
divisional wise, it's between the Texas teams for me. I don't think the Mariners are really in that.
Okay. Okay. I think that the Mariners still, obviously, they have not been eliminated yet. They're only a game out of that third wild card spot. They still have a chance. So I'm not wrong in saying that.
Of course, yeah.
But I just don't think I see a world where the Blue Jays fall out simply because I think just the Blue Jays have been better. I don't know. Like, it's just. I know that the Blue Jays are not the better team. I would rather have both of the AL West well, all three of the AL West teams in that wild card. Which, I mean, in the playoffs. And two in the wild card, obviously. I don't know, something about Toronto, man. Like, with Vladdy kind of getting hot right now and having Davis Snyder, who's been nothing short of amazing. Everyone.
He needs to be studied.
Yeah, he needs to be studied. I mean, their pitching, besides Chris Bassett, who had like an absolute monstrosity of a blow up start a couple of weeks ago, has looked okay. I don't know. I feel like Toronto is a little bit more secure than anyone really is giving them credit for. You know?
Yeah, I see your point. It's for me, it's not about do I want the Blue Jays in there. Do I want the Mariners in there? Do I want the Rangers in there? I don't really care at the end of the day. I want to see good baseball, and I want to see a fun chaos. If it was my choice, I'd love for these three teams to be tied at the end of the season for the second and third wild card spot, just to create chaos. I want just as much chaos to happen. I don't care how it happens. That's what I root for.
Yeah.
If we're moving over to the wild card and talking about the Blue Jays, if you don't know Davis Schneider,
Put some
get
respect
yourself
on his
familiar.
name.
Blue Jays, he kind of plays everywhere, I want to say. He plays, second and third, I believe, mostly.
And a little bit of the outfield.
It's mostly second and DH, I want to say. But in 30 games this season, his first 30 career games, he's 24. He's hitting 297 with a 1.076 OPS. 10 doubles, 8 home runs, 20 RBI. I don't know where this guy came from. I don't know why it took so long for him to get here. But now that he's here, it's like hilarious. Because everyone is like, what is going on? Where did this guy come from? Everyone's asking the same questions, and he's just continuing to do.
So this offensive production is genuinely what has kept the Blue Jays from competing for the division, not only this season, but last season. There was a point in time when the Blue Jays offense looked like it was nothing other than 9 guys who have never played baseball before. But with this guy coming into the lineup, Davis Snyder, who's been, as we just said, amazing. You reading off his stats shows that, a 193 OPS plus in your first 30 games is nothing to just look at and be like, oh, okay. He's amazing. And that's what the Blue Jays have been missing, and that's why I think they're going to be in that wild card spot, just because if their offense is going to stay the same, and it's kind of, I don't want to say built around Davis Snyder, but he's a crucial piece in that. And that's why I think they're going to stay there.
I see your point, but I think if they want to continue to win, they're going to need their core guys to wake up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I think he's the catalyst.
I see what you're saying. I don't think he's the catalyst at all. I would disagree with that statement. If you look, I think a lot of this, not lies on, but if they're going to really want to succeed, they need Bo Bichette to start producing again. Yeah. In his last 15 games, Bo Bichette is batting 167 with no home runs and just 4 RBIs. He really has not done anything offensively, production-wise. I think, if you had the Bo Bichette that's out there hitting a double or 2 every game, hitting 300, I think they're winning a lot more games than they have been winning recently. Yes, they're 6-4 in the last 10 on a 3-game win streak, but I think if you had that Bo Bichette the last month, maybe month and a half-ish, they wouldn't even be a question in the wild card. They would have, been securely in that spot, because I don't know if you know this, but the Blue Jays, I saw this literally today. I think it was Codified Baseball gave the stat. The Blue Jays have the highest save percentage in all of baseball. So if they can get to that end of that bullpen, even in the close games, they're going to win them. So they're relying on their offense right now. And their offense obviously relies around one of their core players in Bo Bichette. So I think they need to look for him to start being
I do
himself
think
again.
a big issue with him not being himself as of recently is ever since that knee injury, that really big scare, everyone, I thank God that he's okay now, because even watching that live, my heart sank to the ground, because Bo Bichette is such an amazing baseball player when he's on the field. I just think that ever since then, it's kind of been, I feel like he's been a little bit more uncomfortable playing, every day and running it out and really being the Bo Bichette that we know he can be. And I hope that he can get back to form, like you said. But I do think that when he got that knee injury or discomfort, whatever they called it, was when we didn't see Bo Bichette be Bo Bichette. And I'm hoping that he turns
I
back
agree.
around.
I think that does attribute a lot to it. I mean, you look at his season; he's still batting 303 on the season. So you
Yeah.
can't. I'm not putting blame on him for the entire season. I'm just saying in this last final playoff push, which is where it really does matter. They're going to need him, and I agree. The injury definitely did something. He's been kind of riddled with injuries since the first one happened. He's been on and off the field, but it's inhibiting. It's taking away his ability to do some things maybe as hard as he normally would be if he was 100% healthy. That I do agree with. But I think got to push through it. Got to be yourself again, and you'll be putting the Blue Jays in a nice position to make the playoffs this year. That's all I really have on the AL. I just went off all I had to say.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see who makes it there. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, I'm very excited too. This year's playoffs are shaping up to be a pretty good one, aside from the Minnesota Twins. So,
True. Anyways, do you want to jump
yeah,
into our last little noted topic?
yeah, more of a informational rather than a spec. Like, we're not going to go into the speculate. Anyway, Shohei Ohtani is done for the season. Yes, it is very sad, but I think it was the right decision. I think it should have happened a lot earlier than it did.
Agreed.
But he had the UCL injury, the elbow injury, almost a month ago now, maybe a few weeks ago.
Yeah, 4 weeks ago.
Stopped him from pitching. He was trying to hit for a little while, and then he got that oblique injury, and they shut him down for the rest of the season. So Shohei Ohtani might have played his final game in an Angels uniform. Do you think he did? Do you think he didn't? What do you think about his injury?
So
Tell me your thoughts.
the Angels side of me is sad. However, the baseball fan in me is beyond excited to know that he will be wearing a different uniform in 2024, when he can compete. I'm upset that we don't get to watch any more of him. Obviously, he could have not played the last 2 months of the season and still won the AL MVP, which I think is all but known that he's going to win that award. Just really hoping that whatever the UCL issue is, as well as the oblique injury, because I think anyone who knows baseball knows once you see that your favorite player has an oblique injury, sometimes it takes a long time to recover from, or it lingers, which is even worse. As for that, I hope that it just goes away. I know Ohtani is a world-class athlete in his own right, and I think he'll be able to be completely fine from it. So now all I can do is worry about his UCL and pray to God that he doesn't need Tommy John, and it's something that will heal over the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, the oblique might have just been a thing, him going up to them saying, just shut me down for the rest of the season.
No,
I don't want to get more injured than I already am. I'm a little concerned on why he's not addressing the UCL right away. I mean, he's a free agent this year. Do you think that maybe he's saying, I'm not going to get the surgery, and I'm going to try to tell teams that I can still pitch, and I'm not going to need to get that surgery. And once I sign a contract, it might aggravate me in my first start next season, but that's a risk I'm willing to take rather than getting this surgery. I'm a little confused on why he's doing that. That's the only reason I can think of him not getting the surgery.
I think it's a bad idea to not get the surgery, to not address the health of your body, especially if you are Shohei Ohtani and you have what could be the biggest payday in world sports history in terms of money per year over a long-term deal. I just think that if they're not addressing it, that must mean that it's not as serious as the media, as serious as it's been reported on, as it's meant to be, basically. It must just be that he sprained it or something, because even though it was reported a partial tear, Shohei Ohtani's agent came out a couple days later and said that's not what the results showed. That's what the Angels said. So it's what's going on. I cannot wait till he's a free agent and other teams get the chance to run their physicals on him, because then we'll actually find out what's wrong with him. We'll see what type of deal that brings him in. And I think that right now, what I've been saying since May, June of this season, with my Ohtani deal of a short-term massive payday, looks like that might be his best option depending on who gives him what contract.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, maybe it's not as serious as they're making it out to be. But if you're Ohtani, do you just...
Oh, if I'm Ohtani, bite the bullet, get the surgery. Bite the bullet.
But if it truly is not as bad as they're saying, and it's really nothing he needs to get surgery on, I'd say don't get it. It's fine. I understand. If he winds up playing next season, maybe he pitches halfway through the season and then says, I have to get the surgery or whatever, and he gets it right in the off season or whatever. If it really is that serious that he needs surgery and he hasn't already scheduled it or gotten it, what does he do? Because as a position player, he can still recover in 6 months and be hitting for whatever team he signs with come the beginning of next season.
Yeah.
It's just you won't be pitching for the team until, maybe
2025. 2025.
Well, or August. No. He could, he's Shohei Ohtani. He's a superhuman.
Yes, but I don't know.
If his team's in a playoff push, he will definitely come back.
He'll figure out a way to pitch with his left hand if they're in a playoff push.
Well, he's been practicing with his left hand. Maybe that's why he's not getting the surgery. He's like, no, I'm a righty now or whatever. I'm a lefty now. Or, you know what I mean. Sorry.
He's a certified gamer. Shohei will do anything to compete, but the fact that he's not getting the surgery is super concerning.
I'm a lefty now. My fault.
Yeah, that's what
I'm a lefty.
That's what I said.
No, I know, my fault. I was just correct. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm interested to see what Shohei Ohtani does. I think that kind of, I don't really want to talk about him until the season ends.
I would hate to not speak about Shohei Ohtani and the greatness that he has provided this season. No, I understand that, but until the last day of the regular season, Shohei Ohtani will be the number one thought in my mind when it comes to baseball, because although he got injured towards the end, although he might have not been able to, pitch all 33 starts or whatever that we had circled on all of our calendars, although he might have not hit the 50 homer mark, he still gave us, in my opinion, the best season from a single player in baseball history.
I agree, but saying he's going to be the only thought in your mind for the rest of the regular season.
First thought.
Either way, saying he's going to be the first thought in your mind till the regular season ends, when he's not playing for the rest of the season and he's on a team that's not even close to making the playoffs. Actually, they just clinched their 8th consecutive season under 500, which is the longest record currently. He is not a thought in my mind right now.
They clinched that.
I'm so sorry, but I will not be truly thinking about Shohei Ohtani unless news about his UCL comes out or news about an injury or something comes out. I will not be thinking about him till the end of the last game of the World Series.
I will be...
Saying he's the first thought in your mind is crazy, considering everything we've talked about in this episode.
But you're going to tell me that he's not the best player that you've ever watched with your own two eyes.
Yeah, he's not going to be the first thought in my mind when he's not playing for the rest of the season and his team is, under 500 for the 8th year in a row.
I don't know, man.
Yes, he's not. That is exactly what I'm telling you. We just talked about a potential end of the season where 5 teams are tied for the second and third NL wildcard spot. There's only 2 spots and 5 teams might be tied. And you're telling me you're going to be thinking about Shohei Ohtani first?
Dude, I love Shohei. I'm so upset that he is...
Get out of here.
Oh, Bruce.
Yeah, get out of here.
I'm just upset that we're not going to get to witness the greatness that is Shohei Ohtani until come next season.
Don't try to.
I don't know. Sounds like you don't care about the best player in baseball. When he comes on the podcast next episode, you have to say it straight to his face.
Wow. That's all I got. I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Ready to wrap it up?
Obviously, we're not recording this episode after every game ends. We still have a couple more. The Phillies actually just beat the Braves, so that's good for their securing their wild card spot, I guess, clinching the playoffs. I would say they're probably already clinched in my mind. Not officially, but in my mind. But that certainly helps. And that's all I got. Any final thoughts, please?
Let's go chaos. I want to see a 5-team tie. I want to see what goes on. Rooting for chaos more than anything. But whatever team gets in either lead, just know it's going to be a bloodbath. Unless you're the Minnesota Twins. The Twins are not doing anything in the playoffs.
Yeah, I would have to agree. All right. Well, we thank you guys for watching. Like I said in the beginning, we're here for the rest of the season until the playoffs end. And then in the off season, we'll go from there. But we thank you guys for watching. If you're still listening, we love you guys. We appreciate you. Make sure you like, comment what you thought about this episode, what you think the wild card will end like, and all that jazz. And we will see you guys in the next one, probably tomorrow. Nothing's guaranteed because we're still trying to get a good schedule going. But right now, hopefully tomorrow. Peace. Wait.
Oh, hold on. What has he got?
John Deere.
John Deere.